So rumors have started swirling that Stellenbosch FC is going to be letting Antonio van Beek join an Austrian side called SV Ried. This comes off of the back of a lot of outgoings at Stellenbosch, where they've lost a lot of key players. You look at Reiners, you look at players like Van Rooyen, and you also look across the previous years where they've lost players like Dupreez, Mtatwa, Winika, Mendieta, players that maybe would have formed a very big part in Stellenbosch building a strong team maybe over a 3-year period. What's really disappointing about this story is that we face another club that is on the cusp of greatness. Another club that is looking at Abo Sundowns and Abo Pirates and actually being a threat, but yet they keep selling away their key pieces. Sorry to interrupt this video, but I need a little bit of your help. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can probably see my subscribe account. And if you can, I'd be very grateful if you would subscribe. That is actually the best way to support this channel, because the bigger that number is, the better it looks to potential guests and other brands and companies that I will approach for sponsorship. It may seem like a very small thing to ask for, but it actually helps with all of this. Thank you very much. Let's get back to the video. Stellenbosch FC, for all intents and purposes last season, was one of the best teams in the country. They went out and they won the Carling knockout. They went out and they finished number 3. If not for some bad results towards the end, they would have been representing South Africa in the Champions League. And this is a team that over years and years and years has had to rebuild and rebuild and rebuild and rebuild. And they've now gotten to the point where they've got a trophy in the cabinet. They've got all of these things working towards their favor, and I feel as though they're throwing it away. For those who don't know, for all intents and purposes, because the league doesn't have financial rules, Stellenbosch FC is bar for bar the richest team in the PSL. They are owned by Remgro through the Stellenbosch Academy of Sports. And Remgro means that they have access to Johan Rupert, the second or first richest man in Africa, depending on when you check the stats. 20 times richer than Motsepe. I know you guys chose a model. I know you guys went, you know what, we're going to develop our talents, we're going to keep it in-house, and we're going to sell these guys, and that's going to be our model. We're going to uplift Stellenbosch and the Western Cape communities that maybe wouldn't be looked at by Joburg teams, by African teams, and by the world. I get it, I understand it, that is an amazing goal that you guys have, but it's about time that somebody stands up and challenges the status quo of the PSL. And the other thing that gets me about this move is that it goes back to a conversation that was had by John Committees when he spoke about how we need a strong Kaizer Chiefs. We need Pirates and Chiefs to be the ones that bring us sponsors. We need Chiefs and Pirates to be winning the league and doing those things so that we can all eat. And you can see this play out here. If you're a real contender, if you actually believe that the league is yours, at what point do you look at Sundowns and say, no, we refuse? And I understand maybe that situation, because it was a release clause, a release buyout type of situation, maybe they didn't have that much control over that one. But it's the fact that you have those type of clauses in your contracts that give an easy way out for players. You look at Abo Van Rooyen. You look at Abo Van Beek, these players that we're speaking about, those are key players, they're young. Surely in the next 3-4 years, if you're building on top of that base, you'd be able to challenge for everything. And it's clearly not a money issue. The problem with our league is that we have an ambition issue from the owner sides. How many of the owners genuinely want to go out and win? How many of the owners genuinely want to take something good and build it better? Instead of rebuilding every year, how about building something higher, bigger, larger? Because that's what the league needs. That is exactly what we need to do in order to make sure that our league is competitive, but also stamp our authority on world football. Make sure that the players we're developing don't have to go to Mamelodi Sundowns in order to develop fully. Don't have to go to Pirates in order to become famous or whatever you want to say. Don't have to go to Chiefs in order to live their childhood dreams. We need to be developing better institutions. How many times have we seen a team scale to the top of the league or close to the top of the league and die? Royal AM, the season after they bought Bloemfontein Celtic, they went to second or third in the league. AmaZulu under Benny went to second in the league. Cape Town City, also under Benny, sometimes under Tinkler, had gone up to second and third in the league. And instead of maybe taking a loss right now, a little hit, taking a hit on the budget for this year or 3 years from now to make sure that that team goes out and does big things and grows and attracts the sponsors and attracts the big players and wins the trophies, what do? They go back down. How many times have we heard Gavin Hunt complaining about losing his teams? Oh, if I still had Patrick. Oh, if I still had Masego. Oh, if I still had that player, this player, that player, that player, that player. My sympathy for some of these teams has run low. You can't tell me that you want to do everything, and then we see moves like this. Imagine how the Stellenbosch team looks if they had those players and they still had a Mendieta, and they still had a Dupreez, and they still had Mtetwa, still in the ranks. And they were bringing in players like Abomjela. Expensive, yes, true. But it puts you into places where you can make back that money. You can play in the CAF Champions Leagues. You can play in the Confederations. You can do all of those things. At some point, your business model has to adapt. And it's not to say they're going to fail this year. I don't want to write them off and say automatically they're going to fail. I'm not going to write them off and say that automatically these moves doom them. But what I will say is, guys, come, be serious. Imagine if that Supersport that won 3 leagues in a row was built out. Imagine if that Bidvest that won the league was able to be around for years after that. Imagine if somebody had come in and said, guys, we cannot lose this institution, one, but also we've just done something incredible. Let's see if we can keep it up. And that takes sacrifice. That takes a team that's willing to say, you know what, guys, the future of the team is bigger. Go economics and those things, they call it opportunity cost. Yes, it's good to have the cash right now and to get the cash from Sundowns and to sell to those type of teams right now. It's great. But if you held on to that, the cost of you losing that money might become a really strong team later that generates even more money. Even just a point of pride. I am fighting you. You are my biggest competitor. I refuse to sell these players locally. I refuse to let these players go to one of my rivals and makes them stronger. A rival that is more than 25 points ahead of me. A rival that has won the league 7 times in a row. A rival that is getting billions back now from their willingness to take the costs early. There's $1 billion that's coming in from the Club World Cup. There was a club that was willing to go up against the Chiefs and the Pirates and say, you know what, I don't want to settle for one trophy. I want to go out and do more. And you know what that costs? It costs money to do those type of things. It costs money to compete at that level. So I don't want to hear teams whining about sponsorship, whining about attendance, whining about players leaving, when you are the same people that allow it to happen. Nobody puts a gun to your head when they want to come sign these players. The other part that we have to speak about is, what are you promising these players? If your coach can come out and say that these players have dreams that stretch beyond Stellenbosch, and if you can make that happen for them, they come from where they come from and all of that stuff, what are you saying to these players when you're sitting down? What type of promises are you making them? What type of counter offers are coming from the team? You know what, trainers, I know going to Mamelodi Sundowns seems like a dream move. But if you give me 3 years, if you give me 2 years, we're going to bring in people that can supplement your talent. We're going to constantly bring in the best when it comes from players, when it comes to coaches, when it comes to backroom staff. And you know what, Rainers, in the next 2 years, we're going to be playing in the Champions League. In the next 2 years, you'll have a league medal. In the next 2 years, you'd have won more than one trophy. Are these teams looking at them and saying that? And offering them better? Can you not match or go over the monies that Sundowns is going to pay these players because you realize how important they are to your future? I get really frustrated, so frustrated at these PSL teams. So frustrated. You speak one thing and then later on you turn around. 18 months ago, if I'm not mistaken, around 18 months ago, Stellenbosch had come out to say that, no, we're not going to be selling any players anymore. No, we've changed our angle, we've changed our business model. We want to compete. Jiggy, this is what we see. So, I don't want to condemn them to having a bad season. I don't want to say they will have a bad season. I don't want to say that Abom Jela and Abom Onyango coming in is not going to help them. It's not going to put them in a place. All I know is that it's going to be a very tough season for them. And we'd really love to see different names. We'd really love to see teams going out and doing some things. Maybe then you'll get the marketing you want. Maybe then you'll get the branding, the brands you want. Maybe then you'll get all of those things that you keep telling us you want. But you have to start acting the part.